Lucas Hedges, this role in Manchester by the Sea has been a big breakthrough for you. When you took the part, did you ever imagine you'd be talking to somebody like me about awards consideration for it?
Honestly, not at all. No, not at all. Like I sort of, I've been acting I've been acting in films since about eighth grade, and at some point along the line, I sort of just, yeah, I came to the conclusion that it was not something that I would ever realistically be talking to somebody about. It became unrealistic, and so it's really surreal to be talking to you.
So tell us about the character that you play in the film.
Yeah, so Patrick Chandler is tough. I mean, he's a very proud, tough son of a fisherman from the North Shore of Massachusetts, who plays on a hockey team. He has two girlfriends. He's in a band, and he's incredibly charismatic. Everyone loves him, but he has a very deep and profound longing uh, and sadness that stems from his mother, who's an alcoholic, left him when he was young, and his dad uh, passes away, and he's known his dad was going to pass away since he was about 7 or 8 years old, and the film begins with his father's death, essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's such a rich and multi-layered script that Kenneth Lonergan wrote. I wonder, as you were finding the character, what were some of the qualities that stuck out for you?
Mm. So, in the script or with the character?
Well, in the script, the way the character is written.
Yes. Okay. So I think that a great character is made in one moment. Like a good characters sort of have very consistent arcs, or not. They don't really have arcs at all. They're there for a specific reason, and they don't really get to dive. We don't really dive deep with them. But Patrick, when I read the script, I was looking for. I could see that he was very charismatic and funny and um, active, but I didn't know that he was a great character until I read this one scene, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's clear that Patrick has a deep emotional well that grounds him in the reality of his situation, of his circumstance, and it wouldn't really be a Kenneth Lonergan film without that kind of emotional depth. That's true of all of his plays and all of his films. That all of his characters are exquisitely human. Um, and and so once I found that moment, and he has several of those moments that it it's clear that there's something deep down inside of him that is just crying. I knew that it was not only a part that I wanted to play, but that it wasn't a part that I would probably that any teenager, the part that comes along once in a generation for a teenage actor. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going through my head right now trying to think what scene could he be talking about, having seen the movie. I guess I'll just have to ask you that when we're off the air. I think what it also has that's so great is this sense of place, right? Now, you guys, I guess,
Mm.
shot on location for a lot of this. Um, what did that add to your performance?
Yeah, well, I think I've heard a lot of people say that the the area of Massachusetts that we shot in sort of exists in the film as another character, and I think it's true that the relationship that my character and a lot of people from that particular area, Manchester and Gloucester, there's a great pride um, that comes from being a hard-working fisherman, um, and in those parts of Massachusetts. So if we were to film it somewhere else, uh, we would lose an entire aspect to these characters that is ultimately vital to to what makes them who they are. I mean, it's Yeah, I guess that sort of answers your question. It wasn't articulated very well, but,
No, no.
um, but yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what this movie would have been if we shot it in like Rhode Island or like I don't know on a sound stage in Los Angeles. It certainly wouldn't be the movie that it is.
Yeah, it is incredibly specific. Let's talk a little bit about the central relationship in the film, which is between your character and Casey Affleck's character. He plays your uncle. Talk a little bit about that relationship.
Mm. Yeah, so it's about a week or so, or a month ago. I was talking to Kenny, and he said, Kenny, the director of Manchester by the Sea, experience on film sets, actors naturally transition into, they naturally turn into their characters in between takes. And the belief is that when action is called, we become our characters. But in his experience on this movie, when he would, because he's tuned into me and Casey talking, was that we would in between takes just exist as Patrick and Lee. And it didn't occur to me. I always felt like I was Lucas, but what I realized was that my relationship, Lucas Hedges, with Casey Affleck is really not far off from Lee. In that I'm a young actor who on set was searching for the approval of this veteran actor and look up to, and who really ultimately at the heart of all of our interactions just wants his love. And that's the basis in Lee's relationship. Patrick just wants the approval and appreciation of his uncle. And especially he's in a moment in his and so it's really interesting for me to realize that my relationship of a stretch from Lee and Patrick. That having been said, there's no tragedy in either of our lives. We're both very happy people. But if you throw in a little tragedy and trauma, you get Patrick and Lee. Yeah.
It's extraordinary to watch this dynamic between the two of you, and this character has this incredible pain in his life that he's getting through. Not to give anything away, but throughout the film we do catch a little glimpses of that. You spoke about Kenneth Lonergan earlier. I wonder what he as a director, I mean, obviously he gave you this great script, but how did he as a director help you in your performance?
So one day I got a call from Kenny at like 11 after a long day of rehearsal, and he called me to tell me a story about this one time Matthew Broderick, his best friend, was in a play. And I don't want to tell the whole story because it's not my story to tell, but the moral of the story was that for me, Lucas Hedges isn't a tough kid at all. Lucas Hedges is a very sensitive, shy person, very awkward, shy person from Brooklyn. And Patrick is a tough hockey player from Massachusetts, and that needs to exist in how he holds himself up in a room. And what he said to me was not to play tough, but to create memories in my life, in Patrick's past, in which I have been in physical altercations and come out triumphant. And what that did for me is it allowed for me to meditate on Patrick's past and give myself a history that would allow me to walk into a room differently, and without playing a certain kind, without playing tough, I became tough, which was really important to the character, and I wouldn't have had that without Kenny. Yeah.
Right. Listening to you talk now, I'm really shocked to not hear the Massachusetts accent. Can you talk a little bit about getting that down pat, and not making it into a caricature? I mean, because it really does. I mean, you and Casey do such,
Yeah.
and everyone in the film does such a great job of really conveying
Mm.
that. I mean, was that tough to get down?
It's a really tough accent, and it's especially tough because it's when I got it right, it felt like I was spoofing it because this accent is done like it's done. People are constantly making fun of it, and so when I hit it, it almost felt like it felt kind of funny and awkward. So a lot of the work I had to do on it was just trusting that this weirdness was where it was how I was supposed to feel, and just really trusting myself. But I listened to a lot of voice memos, a lot of shit Boston guys say, shit Boston people say, which actually is very true to the Boston accent. A lot of local like newscasts, a lot of local interviews, a lot of market basket promos and elections, local elections. Um, yeah, it took a while, but it was incredibly important, obviously.
Mhm. So, looking at your filmography, you've been pretty lucky in your few years of acting.
Yeah.
I think your first movie was Dan in Real Life, and then you've had
Yeah,
roles
that was
in.
my dad. I don't know if you knew that. No, but my dad directed that movie, and
Oh,
I was
that's right. Yeah,
yeah,
Lucas
yeah,
Hedges, Peter Hedges.
yeah, exactly. So I was actually had a talking. I was I had a talking scene in that movie, but I was cut.
Oh no. How could
Yeah.
you, Dad? um, but I mean that that led to some roles in Wes Anderson movies like Moonrise Kingdom and Grand Budapest Hotel. You're in Zero Theorem for
Mhm.
Terry Gilliam, Kill the Messenger for Michael Cuesta. I
Yeah.
mean, you've had some pretty good films in your filmography.
Mm.
What attracts you to the roles that you take on?
Um, uh, the part, the director. I think this is something you pick up on. Obviously, I see your wall. You're clearly like a film buff.
Yeah.
I've been able to work singular artists of like Terry is one of the most remarkable artists of his generation, as is Wes Anderson, as are many of the directors I've worked with, and it's kind of I've been absurdly lucky, um, uh, and I've yeah, I mean it's the world of the film that that's one of the first things that stands out for me from seeing a movie, um, because we get lost. The nature of film is, or for me as an audience member, is getting lost in it. I get lost in movies, and if a world doesn't appeal to me, I don't really want to act in a movie about a world that I don't want to get lost in. Um, so it's a combination of the part, the filmmaker, the script, um, the and who I'm acting with. I mean, it's everything always, and I've been incredibly lucky to have been wanted by the filmmakers that I want most. Uh, yeah,
Mhm. And you've got a couple of interesting projects coming up. You got a Martin McDonagh film coming up, and
yeah,
Greta Gerwig's directorial
yeah,
debut.
yeah,
You want to talk a bit about what you've got coming up?
yeah. So I just wrapped Greta's movie in just a few weeks ago, which I played Saoirse Ronan's love interest. I play a musical theater actor, um, and that movie was a blast. And I think it's going to be amazing. I'm incredibly proud of it. And then I played Frances McDormand's son in Martin McDonagh's movie, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And yeah, which I'm also incredibly excited for, which I haven't seen yet, but I know that they're finishing it up. And it's a very dark comedy. I don't want to give anything away, but it's also with Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell. Um, and I've been a huge fan of Martin's for a long time because I've been studying theater at school, and we've been studying his plays, which was also surreal to leave school to go work with him. It was awesome.
Absolutely. Uh, Lastly, you know, the response to this film has been so great ever since it premiered at Sundance. What do you hope people get from it?
Um, I hope that people. It's hard to say that I want them to get something specific, but I hope that they get an experience uh, that allows them to have some sort of release. I hope that um, because I think the actors in this movie go to a place so that the people in the audience don't have to go there. They go there for them. And if it's done right, which I think it was, um, the people in the audience will have uh, they will have the experience that the characters have and have the catharsis and and release some sort of fear and tension, and it will reinforce the idea that the universe is a beautiful place and that this world is safe regardless of our greatest fears and of the most horrifying tragedy. No matter what, we're safe. And it's an incredibly hard thing to believe. But I think the movie supports that belief and ultimately makes the world more inhabitable. Um, yeah, so I hope it somehow alleviates, uh, makes life more light, makes takes the load off of our shoulders. Although it's an incredibly tragic film, I hope it makes life easier on the people who see it.
Absolutely. Well, Lucas, thank you so much, and congratulations on the film.
Thank
Uh,
you so much.
you're welcome. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. All right, you too. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.